Hey there YouTube, it's Bobi aka Paginator, and I'm here to tell you about my November reading wrap-up. So in the month of November I read quite a lot, but unfortunately a lot of those books were either from the school library, they were audiobooks, or they're now in my classroom library, so I can't hold them up for you. So I've got 4 that I can actually hold up and show, but I apologize. I'm going to have to do a lot of inserting pictures throughout this video. So, yeah. In the month of November, I started with Blood and Honey, which is the sequel to Serpent and Dove. This is by Shelby Mahurin. And I can't tell you a whole lot about this because it is a sequel and I don't want to spoil the first one, but I will tell you that in the first book we meet... there goes my brain. Lou and Reed. Lou is a witch and Reed is a witch hunter, and through a set of weird circumstances, they end up having to get married. And Reed doesn't know that Lou is a witch. So, yeah, that's interesting. And this book, the action and the fighting gets even more intense, and there's some seriously dark stuff that happens, and the end of the book sets it up really well for a third one, so let's cross our fingers that that one's good too. So next I read the graphic novel adaptation of Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. The illustrations were done by Danica Novgorodov, I think is how you say that. I read an arc of this, and then I noticed that my school library got it in, so I was able to flip through and like physically hold it as well. This is, if you're unfamiliar with Long Way Down, it is the story of a young man whose brother is killed by gun violence, and this book takes place in just a minute while he's taking an elevator from the 7th floor, I believe it is, down to the ground floor, and at each stop on every floor, someone he knows gets onto the elevator with him, and these are people who have also lost their lives from gun violence. So they're helping him to make his decision. And the graphic novel version had this artist, Danica something that I can't say her name correctly, do some beautiful, beautiful painted illustrations. So if you're looking for a good graphic novel, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous adaptation of a book that was already written in verse. So it's also really quick to read because not only do you have the short lines of a verse novel, but you have illustrations, and yeah, highly recommend that one. Up next we have The Sound of Stars by Alechia. Now, I will begin by saying that my opinion of this got a little bit skewed because I read Zero Repeat Forever in the month of October and then read this one not too far into November, and they're very similar. Both books have a human girl and an alien / cyborg male. So there were some similarities there, and I was kind of like, oh, that's weird that I read 2 books that were so similar. But in this one, in The Sound of Stars, our human girl's name is Janelle, or Ellie. She goes by Ellie, and there is these invading aliens, I guess you would call them, called the Ilori, and at least 1/3 of the world's population has been killed. Janelle breaks the rules by keeping a secret library. She has, I think it's like 20 or 25 books that she has found a place to keep, and books are supposed to be like a big no-no, so is music and like all kinds of cultural things. Morris is the cyborg / alien dude, and he really loves music, and one day he happens to see Janelle and like her going to her secret library, and he kind of says, hey, if you can get me more music, I'll keep your library secret and won't turn you in. Because if she's caught, like, she can be put to death. But then when things start to go wrong, the two have to kind of go off on the lam together, and feelings start to develop, and the ending has a really fun surprise, like, at the end, and there's, like, pop music influences throughout, as well as talking about books, like the Hate You Give is mentioned in here, as well as some other ones that I can't think of right now. But yeah, it was a fun science fiction story. I got it from Book of the Month a while ago, and I would recommend you pick this up if you're into science fiction. Up next, I read Horrid by Katrina Leno, which is a young adult horror book, and I can't really tell you a whole lot about it without spoiling things, but we have a young girl, Jane, whose father has just passed tragically, and she and her mother go from California to Maine to the home her mother grew up in, and weird, creepy, spooky things happen, and it is a really, really, really beautifully written horror story. So if you're into that, go pick up Horrid by Katrina Leno. Up next, I read the number 15 book in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. It is called The Deep End, and it's by Jeff Kinney, of course. This series is so much fun. I can usually read through one in like an hour or so, and The Deep End was really fun. There were some super funny moments. The Heffley family are stuck living in their grandma's basement, and they're feeling like kind of shut in and trapped, like similar to some people in the world might be feeling during these weird quarantine times. And they go on a family camping trip, and hilarity ensues because anytime the Heffley family does anything together, things go weirdly wrong. Yeah. Alright, up next I read The House in the Cerulean Sea. And I talked about this in my video about can books help me with a bad mental health day. I think this is the book I talked about in that one. I'm like 99% sure. Anyway, this book is like my number one book of 2020. I can't see that changing in the next month. I guess you never know what the future might bring, but as of right now, I've read 182 books in 2020, and it's my number one. Like, short version is Linus Baker, our main character, is a by-the-books caseworker for the department in charge of magical youth. And in this world, the non-magical people are in charge of all the magical people, and a lot of magical children and creatures are in homes. And he goes to different homes or orphanages to inspect, and, you know, he does a lot of paperwork and things. And the extremely upper management folks have called him in and said, you're going on a highly classified mission for about a month to a certain orphanage in this little town by the sea. It's actually on an island, so you'll need to take a train and a ferry. You leave tomorrow, go pack your bags. Linus goes to this home and meets these extra special magical children that are there. I don't want to tell you too much really about the children because it's so much fun to like just discover them by yourself, so I'll just say that they're super fun kids and you'll grow attached to them. And Linus also grows attached to the beautiful man who runs the home for the children there. Alright, up next, I read Class Act by Jerry Craft, which is the graphic novel sequel to New Kid, which was the Newbery Award winner last year. Class Act follows one of the other core friends from New Kid as he struggles with being biracial in his school, and there's a kid who's very racist, and then there's some other issues going on, like, is he black enough? Is he, you know, does he fit into the cultural expectations placed on him? Plus, there's also just general middle school friendship issues in there, and it's just a really well done graphic novel. Next, I got Moment of Truth by Kasie West from the school library, and that was just a cute little, like, fluffy romance. It is part of the Love, Life, and the List series, but you don't have to read them in order or even, like, all together. They kind of, you know, they can stand alone. This one is about a girl named Hadley who is a swimmer, and she's very, very determined and dedicated. She had an older brother who actually died before she was born. I believe he had cancer. And she's kind of spent her whole life trying to, like, live up to the memory of her perfect brother. And, like, her dad had bought her brother a truck, and it's, like, on this platform in the front yard as a shrine to the brother. And it's kind of odd, like, how much they do, like, on the anniversary of his birthday, I think it is, or the day that he died. I can't remember which one. They, like, all gather around the truck, and they put things that remind them of him into the truck. And she's like, well, I guess I'll get some of these candies because I know he liked those, even though I didn't know him. Like, so there's kind of a weird family dynamic going on. And then there's also this weird thing going on around town. Like, in this world, Heath Hall is the name of a movie character that's really popular. And someone dressed as Heath Hall is doing these weird stunts. And so she and her best friend are trying to figure out who Heath Hall really is. And she actually messages the Instagram account linked to this person, and they start to become friends and, like, pretty close, confiding in each other. There's also some other boys that are weaving in through the story. Her ex-boyfriend, this kid that always seems to show up where she is. There's just a lot of stuff happening, and there is a romance element because it's Kasie West, but it's all very, very clean. Her books are always very clean and friendly for kids of multiple age ranges, I'll say. Then I read 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. This is another super cute romantic story. I've just been kind of in that mood. This was about a girl whose boyfriend broke up with her at the beginning of Christmas break, and so her big Italian family thinks, we'll set you up on 10 blind dates. And this book was laugh out loud funny. I laughed out loud in many places, and you know that crazy things are going to happen when family sets you up on dates. Like, it's just going to be funny. And of course there is one guy who she ends up with at the end, and it's perfect. Yeah, so read 10 Blind Dates. It's super funny and cute. After that, I read Cinderella is Dead. This is by Kalynn Bayron, and it's another one that I took right to school, so again, I don't have it to hold up for you. This is an LGBT, like, take on Cinderella, but it's like 200 years after Cinderella and the glass slipper and that whole thing. But in that kingdom now, all the girls, when they reach the age of 16, I believe it is, have to go to the ball. And if a man doesn't pick them out to be his wife, she doesn't get any choice in the matter, by the way. But if a man doesn't pick her out, she goes again next year. And then by the third year, if she's not chosen, she's forfeited, which, like, no one ever sees those girls again, the ones that are forfeited, so people assume they're dead. The current king of the kingdom is a jerk face, and we don't like him. So just know that going into it. And our main character, she is like, just owns herself. She's so self-aware, and, like, she knows what she wants. She's always been in love with her best friend Erin, who's a girl, and she doesn't want to marry a man. She doesn't want to go to the ball, but she knows that she and her family's lives could be at stake if she doesn't go. And in this society, women are, like, seriously, seriously devoid of all rights. So she pretty much has to go, and things go crazy, and she ends up meeting the great something granddaughter of one of Cinderella's stepsisters, and learns the actual story of Cinderella, and things are not what we thought they were. Some serious stuff happens. There are some scenes that were, like, gory and kind of just like, ew, I need to close my eyes and not look at this for a second. And there were some very intriguing things. There's elements of betrayal, violence. Like, this is not a fairy princess story, but it does look really beautiful on the cover. So I'm sure I'll insert the cover somewhere in here. Just, it's, yeah. Up next, we have a couple of audiobooks. We have Rent a Boyfriend by Gloria Chao. And this is about a college-age girl who, I believe her family's Chinese, and her parents are putting a lot of pressure on her to marry a certain boy that she's known since they were kids. He is a jerk face. We also don't like him. And we know immediately that she should not marry him. But she ends up hiring this guy to pretend to be her boyfriend. Andrew is his name, and he comes to Thanksgiving and then eventually Christmas with her to pretend date her so that her parents will get off her back. And yeah, things happen. Probably what you're expecting to happen, because it's a romantic story. Anyway, the other audiobook is Chasing Lucky. Actually, Actually, you know what? I'm going to save Chasing Lucky for my December wrap-up because I actually finished it today, and as I'm filming, it's December 2nd, so we'll just put that one on hold for a little bit. So I believe that's all of my reads for November. I did finish a book yesterday, and then the audiobook I finished today, so those will go in my December wrap-up. Oh, I forgot they both die at the end. Okay, I don't know how I could have missed this. I finally read this book. It's been out for a while now. It tells you in the title what's going to happen to the main characters. So, spoiler, they both die at the end. This is set in a world where there's this thing called Deathcast, and deaths are predictable, and so you get a call like very, very early, like 12:01 a.m. the day that you're going to die, or as soon as they can call you, because they have to call a lot of people. And our two characters who take turns narrating the story, Mateo and Rufus, are both set to die on the same day. And they find each other through an app called Last Friend. And it's an app that helps people find a friend to spend their last day with if they need one. And these two not only become friends as they spend their last day together, but more than that, because, you know, it's Adam Silvera book. It's, yeah. Anyway. It was very good. At first, I thought I was going to hate Rufus because at the beginning, when we see him, he's beating someone up. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't like him already. But I grew to like him a lot. And Mateo is also a really great character. I think I ended up giving this one 4 stars, even though I didn't like Rufus at the beginning. It was still a very good read and worth reading, even though the title tells you what's going to happen. Emotional, though. It'll tug at you. All right, now we're done. I apologize, I had forgotten that one. I don't know where my brain was. It's been a weird day. So that's it for my November wrap-up, and you guys are probably tired of hearing my voice. So we're going to call this a good video, and we'll see you in the next one. You guys have a wonderful, fun, and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.